I grew up in a very loving, supportive home. I had an older sister and a younger sister, and we spent all of our weekends at the ball fields. We all played competitive sports, and my parents and my grandparents were always there to support us with every single thing that we did. They loved us the most unconditional love. We would spend, I guess my favorite childhood memories were we would spend a week with my grandparents, and my grandma has always been my very best friend, my biggest supporter. And then when I was 12, my sister, who had a 9-month-old baby, died in a car accident. So my parents adopted my nephew, and we raised him as my little brother. Going on in life, I had a younger sister and a younger brother, and he was my pride and joy. He's where I've developed my love for kids and just knew that I wanted to have 4 children when I got older. So after I graduated with my associate's degree from a community college, I moved up to Warrensburg and got involved in things that I wish I hadn't, and was in a very toxic relationship, but I had a friend that was kind of my roommate. I worked with her, all that was, she would hit me kind of, if I wanted to go home, she would hit me. I had black eyes that I would lie about to my parents. And then we were hanging out at my ex's brother's house when I met him, and he had promised to get me out of this friendship and kind of save me. And from there, I would stay at his house a lot. I met his daughter right off. He would take me places. We would come to the lake for weekends and swim and boat and all those things. And he always wanted to be with me, which I thought meant that he really cared about me. If I would do something wrong, he would always bring that up and tell me that he was going to tell everybody about it, something I was very ashamed of. My past I was very ashamed of, and just kind of would control me through it, blackmail me in a sense. There was also a time in the very beginning where my friend that I was trying to get away from had a key to my place, and she stayed there and wouldn't leave because I wouldn't come home. And he knew that. Well, sexual boundaries were not a thing, obviously, and he held me down and made me do that, gave me a hickey. So then whenever I had to go back to my house for class, my friend would see it, and then that was not a good situation. And I kind of just went back and forth because he would use the blackmail to tell my parents because they would have been ashamed. And then I just kind of stuck there. I didn't have kids with him till years later. I had moved out a couple of times because his child and him would blame me for everything, yell at me, call me names, bring up my past, tell me that nobody would want me. And then whenever I would leave, he'd get me back by just calling me several times, over and over, telling me things would change. He wouldn't be like that anymore. He missed me, he loved me. Don't abandon his child like that. Please don't do that to her. So I would go back. This happened quite often for a very long time. And then eventually I thought that a child would make him stop and love me more, and that I would be enough because I had his child. So we had 2. It got worse, a lot worse. With our first child, he had moved me when I was 9 months pregnant out to a very remote area, like 45 minutes away from everybody, everything. And When I had him, I remember one specific time we were on our way to Walmart, which was about a 30-minute drive, and he had just had a friend over, and somebody had made a comment that our child looked like his friend. And he read the comment on Facebook in the car when we were heading there, and all of a sudden just started saying that I was cheating on him. I cheated on him, that our son was not his. It was this other person's, and just kept going and going and going. Until finally I'm like, yeah, okay, sarcastically, and that made it worse. And I've never been able to live that down, just consistently through the years. You cheated on me, you had a kid without me, played me. As time went on and I would try to leave with our children, he would just blow my phone up and he would tell me that he was going to kill himself if I didn't come back. It's all your fault. If I do, our children won't have a dad. And then if I didn't play into that, then he would start trying to be nice to me, call me beautiful, say I deserved better. And then whenever I did, it would go right back to it. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I remember the time that I decided to leave for good. We were home and it was late at night, and I had my youngest, it was about 1.5 at the time, in my arms. And something had happened to the internet, and his child was a teenager and was banging on the door and was just so mad. And I went out there, tried to calm her down. So it was so late, so she didn't wake the kids up. Just kept going and going, and he's not trying to do anything about it. And his child, his oldest, starts throwing stuff at me and my littlest. I had her in my arms. And finally I got out the door. They were blocking the door. He was right behind her. And we were gonna leave, me, him, and the 2 youngest children. And we got in the car. He tried to go back in for his oldest daughter. And I'm like, no, this isn't happening. Did you see what she just did? I can't believe you didn't say anything, and now are you on her to get in the car with us? And he looked at me in the eyes and he was like, she didn't do anything. What are you talking about? She didn't do anything. You're imagining that. Why would you say that? As soon as he got out, I left. I just drove off without him. My mom paid for a hotel because I didn't have a job at the time. I had to ask him for everything. My mom paid for a hotel, drove down the 3 hours the next morning, got me and the kids. We dropped the vehicle off somewhere where he could get it, and then left. And ended up coming back to the lake because that was where my life was. So I had a therapist tell me that I had PTSD. I had severe anxiety. Every single time the phone would ring, it would be him. He would call me consistent, hundreds and hundreds of times. And if I didn't say the right things to him, or he didn't agree with what I was saying, he would take my words and twist them around to make me seem like this horrible, horrible person. There was times where he would call me and I wouldn't answer, but then I would eventually answer because that's what he did. He just kept going because he knew that I would give in. And he would tell me that I was a deadbeat mom, or that I wasn't going to come back for my kids. He would say that he had been telling people that I was an alcoholic and I would go to all school functions drunk, and he was going to report this, and we would be going through the legal system at that time. Just the consistencies of it just happened constantly. It was just so much. I couldn't get away from it. I felt broken and like I could never get anybody else because he would tell me that, and that I was still trapped in the home. So I always had these thoughts, well, I might as well just go back. If I go back, then it will all stop. He won't do this, because I felt like it was worse than it was whenever I was there. And I called my grandma, and she talked me through it. Well, when I got involved with CADV, Amy helped become my support, and because I didn't have any friends or family down here other than my work family at that time, and she helped give me the strength, got me into counseling, helped me go through the restraining order process, and if I didn't, she would go with me because she knew I was scared. Helped me know that I had a voice and that I had boundaries and that I didn't have to deal with that. I was no longer there, and I could heal. I had a coworker who went to an annual brunch and had heard a story that he said sounded exactly like mine. And I told him, I'm like, no, I'm not going through domestic violence. I don't get hit. I just feel like I'm crazy. And he kept on. So I called, and then Amy went through the wheel with me, and I was extremely surprised. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't have to struggle by yourselves. There's help and people that will give you the support even if you don't have a family like I did, and will help you get out and free yourself for a better life. There's still those days every once in a while that I struggle, but other than that, being able to watch my 2 healthy, happy kids grow up in a loving, normal family, and my amazing boyfriend and my bonus son, my amazing family and coworkers and job that I love, there's not anything else really other than joy in my life now.